home, I'm not sure about bouncing back. Obviously, they need to. It's a big game for them. You go down 0-3 against Portland, series is almost over, basically over. I think they're going to go home and play well, but Portland has figured it out. We stopped these two guys. Nobody else on this team is going to beat us. We'll let Russ and Paul shoot all the balls. We'll even let them force it. But nobody else on this team can beat us. They don't have guys that's confident. Steven Adams really doesn't want the ball. He wants to be that tough guy, that role player, the defender. He really doesn't want to score. The role player guys they have shooting, none of them are confident. The big guys aren't confident. Ferguson is not a confident shooter. He's a great athlete, but he's an average defender. So if you're not making shots and you're not defending, what are you doing out there? CJ and Dame are having their way with all the guards out there. Nobody's really stopping them. So what are you doing? They're just going to let Russ and Paul do everything they can to try to win games, but for the most part, they know that this team can't beat them.
This is the biggest game Russell Westbrook's played in since Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, the year they still had KD. The year when they were up 3-1 on the Warriors, all of a sudden it's 3-3. You're going to Oracle. This is the biggest game for Russ since that moment, the biggest game in 3 years. And I love Russ. He needs to play really, really well tonight. Because you know what? He and Paul George should be enough. You shouldn't need the role players in this game. Maybe not to win the whole series, maybe not to advance deep into the playoffs, but they are one of 6 teams in this league that has multiple All-Stars. They have a guy that won the MVP 2 years ago, and a guy who's going to finish probably 3rd or 4th in the MVP voting this year in Paul George. Paul George was healthy enough to be excellent in Game 2. Russ was terrible. And there's been a lot of unfair criticism of Russ. If he doesn't play great, and they don't win tonight, a lot of that criticism is going to be fair. Because you're right, 3-0 down, it's over. If teams come back from 3-1, nobody in NBA history has come back from 3-0 for 2 reasons. 1, it's hard to win 4 games in a row. But 2, if a team beats you 3 straight times, they're probably just better than you. Right. And that is what Oklahoma City could have won Game 1. They could have stolen home court. They didn't. Yes. Russ was bad in Game 2, and they got blown out to a degree. But they haven't lost a game at home yet. They are okay right now, but they're not in good shape. Russ has to be spectacular.
Let's look at, I know, Nick, you're a fan of history and everything. My brain don't work like that, so I like to work in a shorter space. Let's go over the last 5 days in the NBA. 5 days. I like to keep it, you know, I've had a past and everything with hurts your ability to remember stuff for a long period of time. So let's just go 5 days, John. All right? In the last 5 days, what we have seen is we've seen some of our best players in this league challenged. Kawhi, didn't they lose first game? He was challenged. What did he come back in game number 2?
Crossed 37.
Monster game. We talked about Durant. Came back. Monster game. Because all the same question we had for all these guys when they faced some adversity. Kyrie. Monster game. Ben Simmons last night. Man, they put an APP missing report. They looking for him in Brooklyn like they looking for Biggie. I mean, for real. Like, so all the superstars have responded, and Russ is no different. Going back home, it is a very, very important game, not only for this season, but what the narrative is going to be with him and Paul George. Last season, first round, early exit, disappointment.
Blame it on Melo.
Yeah, and if they do it again this year, I mean, ain't going to be nobody to blame because it's just you and Paul George there. So I've seen the other players. All of them have responded to the same pressure, and I expect Russ to be able to do the same thing tonight.
No, I think you make a good point. I don't think it's too early to ask what is the narrative about Russell Westbrook if they don't get out of this round again.
Well, let's keep this in mind, too. This guy has averaged a triple-double 3 straight years. We cannot overlook that. That is huge for anybody to accomplish. But at the same time, you're measured about what you do in the postseason. You're not measured by what. It's a lot of great regular season players. I know a million of them, but they never got a chance to play in the championship or play in the playoffs. Russ, if you want to control your legacy, you have to win in the offseason. You have to win in the postseason. You have to.
Well, and nobody can take the MVP or the 3 straight triple-doubles away from him. And he is now minted in that regard. Because of that, he's a Hall of Famer. Because of that, he is a guy that people will always remember him, right?
No question.
But the next mountain for him to climb is not win a championship. That's too big of a bill for this team to pay. But to advance around, to show that you made progress, to show that the team maybe could next year compete when KD leaves the Warriors for the Western Conference. You get bounced in the first round, you're in that area Portland is in. Except not as good as them.
To me, if Russ opens up his eyes, he got the perfect example of who he should be trying to emulate the rest of his career. Look at James Harden. Look how we used to talk about Harden. Oh, man, he's not a defensive player. He's a selfish player. He's not in shape. He hangs out too much. All that MVP is overrated. But now, his narrative is not tied to win the championship because we just seen him improve. We like his game. Our conversation about Harden's improved, and that's what Russ is trying to face. But he's got to be more selective as far as his shot selection, try to get more people involved, and try to play at a pace that is not out of control. And I believe that he can do that. He has the type of talent to be able to do that.
And that's what I think he'll become a different player when he learns how to change speeds. Russ is always at one speed. I think some of the great players, Ross Strickland, Allen Iverson, they were able to change speed and get their player going. Russ always is at one speed, and that's why he has a lot of time.